Welcome to the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a show that is a central hub and safe space for authors to share their stories. The Bold Book with Dr. Denise begins now.
Hello, my name is Dr. Denise Nicholson, and this podcast is for anyone looking for inspiration. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing you to a Bold Book of the Day author. Now, this author, his brand is all baseball or baseball unlikely. So please welcome Scott S. Parker to the Bold Book of the Day podcast. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun about baseball. I wrote a giant coffee table book called Baseball's Unlikely, a Constant, and this is game 1. Game 2 is also available, and I've started writing game 3 just recently.
Well, Scott says we just had a little conversation in the back, and he said that he has nearly 4 decades of collecting stories, 37 major league ballparks, and 600 stories across 2 books. Woo! Most people love baseball, so tell me, what got you into baseball?
Well, I went to my very first baseball game in Anaheim Stadium when I was, I think, 9 years old. My aunt brought me, and it was a remarkable experience. She even took us out to get autographs after the game, and I still have those autographs today.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy. And went to Dodger Stadium shortly after that, so that's what opened my eyes to baseball. And then you start playing Little League as a kid, and baseball's kind of just stuck with me the entire time. And as I got more into the statistical side of things and start reading box scores every morning, the box scores kind of, play out like a script, and you kind of see what happened during the game. You read it like a movie. And anyways, there was a little short story above every box score, and it just had kind of a highlight of the game. And every once in a while, I would come across a little blurb, and I would read it and go, I cannot believe that happened during the game. How is that even possible? And so after reading a few of these things through the course of maybe a month, I'm like, these things need to be together somehow, some way. So I started clipping these things and dating them. And I started doing little writings back in the early 90s, but you couldn't really blow up the stories too big because you didn't have the internet. And so forward, I told a friend of mine at work about my idea for this book, and I literally dubbed it Baseball's Unlikely, a Constant, back in the early 90s. And he was really excited about the concept and just thought I'd be, doing it any minute. And I was working 80 to 100 hours a week in Hollywood as an editor. Yeah, so I didn't have time to write this at all. I had time to collect, but I didn't have time to write. And every couple of years, he would, call me up and say, hey, how's your book coming? It's like, dude, I'm just working way too much. I just don't have time to write this thing. So he kept circling back. And once he retired, which was a couple of years ago, he started writing his own children's books. And that is Rusty Austin, who was my partner in the first book. And so he knows the ins and the outs of publishing and calls me up and says, look, I'm retired. If you need help, let me help you with this thing. So I'm like, okay, let's make this happen. So I collected all my newspaper clippings, mailed them to him, and I had to go through folders and check my computer for screenshots and bookmarks saved, and just everything that I tried to bring together. And so he basically teed me up with all these stories into one communal document. And I just basically went one story at a time when I was between jobs, knowing I wanted to close the first book at the end of the 2024 season, just to have a bookmark at the end. And I literally went 7 days a week. That included Christmas, New Year's, you name it, because I knew my job was coming back soon. So 7 days a week, we got the first book out. But
wow.
That was, it was like 36 years at that point. I think we're 37 in now.
Let's thank your aunt for making such an impact on your life so early on. And then you have this persistent friend who wouldn't let you let your dream go.
Yeah, that was crazy. I did thank my aunt in the book, and I also thanked Rusty in the book, and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only 3 people I special thanks to, and I could have thanked a lot more people, but baseball is, 3 strikes to an out, 3 outs to an inning. I stuck with 3 people.
I love the name Baseball Unlikely. And I was wondering, how did you come up with that name, Baseball Unlikely?
It's actually plural. Baseball is unlikely, but I
Baseballs
came up with
Unlikely.
yeah, I came up with that after I clipped like the first 3 stories. It just jumped in my head, and I've never even tried to change the name.
Yeah. So the name came before the book, way before the book.
Yes, way before. Yeah, it came along with
Wow.
the newspaper clippings. Just as a writer, words jump in your head, and you kind of tend to commit to them for the most part. And that jumped in my head and never left.
Yeah, let's talk about how this book, the structure of the book, because it's genuinely, I've just never heard of, have I heard of books with no chapters? I don't think so. So instead of the entire book structured like a baseball, tell me about the structure of the book. Tell us about it.
Well, the book, and I wanted it to be fun and not just chapter 1, chapter 2, like every other book on the planet. And so we basically ran all the chapters like a game. So the
Mm-hmm.
baseball season starts with spring training. So our first chapter is called Spring Training. And we have basically all of the more well-known facts people should know the game. If you're into baseball at all, who's got the most home runs, who's played the most games, who has the highest batting average, all these things. And if you don't, this is kind of a quick reminder to get started. And then we go to the technical side with pregame warm-up. And the technical side talks about how we got the very first radio broadcast and how they turned on the radio station to do this, and the first stadium with lights, the first stadium with cameras to broadcast on television. So it's a really eye-opening fact because we're used to just having the games on everywhere, including on our phones. You don't realize that nobody could hear a game or see a game without going to the game so long ago. So,
Right, right.
so that's a really fun technical chapter. I have a section called the scorecard. Most books would call it a glossary. Um,
Yes.
and I was inspired to do that because I was talking to my dad and his wife and reading them some stories, and they would stop me during the story going, "What's a cycle?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, I never thought about that. I'm just so familiar with the baseball terms, you think
You
everybody
think
knows."
everyone's?
So you're right, just because I'm so attached to it. And anyways, when they asked about what certain words were, I'm like, okay, I need to start the book with a glossary of sorts. So I called it, in baseball fashion, the scorecard. And the scorecard is basically the magazine you would buy walking up to the ballpark. And it's got stories about the moment. It's got, maybe some trivia inside. But most importantly, it has the box score inside. So people like to keep score at home, or at the game. And so I call it the scorecard with about 20, 30 terms and what they might apply to. And then we get into I don't know if I'm skipping one, but we basically get to the first chapter, which is the top of the first inning. Now, if you look at the scoreboard and you see the 9 boxes across for each team for their innings, you start at the top of the first inning, bottom of the first, top of the second, etc. That's known as the line score. So I had a graphic artist devise me a line score for the chapters. So at the top of the first inning, there's a red diamond in the top of the first inning. And in the next chapter, it moves down to the bottom of the first inning, and X replaces the top of the first. And so that little graphic moves along throughout the game. And it takes a stop at the 7th inning stretch, just like a game should. And that's when you stand up and stretch and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" and all that stuff. And we have a bunch of really cool stories that, like the history of the 7th inning stretch. We've got just, extracurricular baseball stories. And that goes on for, I don't know, maybe 20 pages. Really fun stuff. And then the game resumes in the bottom of the 7th inning. It goes all the way through the bottom of the 9th. And guess what? There's extra innings to the 9th. So we have a chapter called Extra Innings. And this is just extra baseball stuff that could include minor leagues, non-game stories, just fun anecdotal things about baseball. And then we have a chapter called Postseason, and those are stories of things that only happen in the postseason. And then we finish with the final out. And the final out is literally 50, 60, 70 bullet points of things only Shohei Ohtani has done in the game. It is eye-opening what he has done and nobody else has done before. So that's
Wow.
the book from front to end. And
Yes.
I've actually flagged a few stories to read to you as just a teaser. So
Well,
we can do those later.
so I was going to ask, what is the worst and best game story that you can share on air?
Worst and best. Well, they didn't make
Yes.
the book if they weren't the best. So I couldn't pick a worst one if you want to call it that.
You can't pick a worse one. When I say worse, I mean, you know how you have a certain expectation and then your feelings, for whatever reason, you're disappointed. Is there a game that you felt that did not meet your expectations?
Not really. I think the only worst moments, if you want to call them that, is a player might have had a bad day, like striking out 8 times in a doubleheader, So
Hmm.
those would be bad for him, good for me because I got a story out of it. So I don't think there's a worst moment in the book. They're all eye-popping to me, which is why I started writing these crazy things.
You mentioned that each story has a witty title that pays itself off,
Correct.
in the end. So go ahead and share one of your witty titles and the story. Or if you flagged any of those
Okay.
to read.
Yeah, actually I did. So in football, there's a team called the San Francisco 49ers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have this short story called 49ers.
Mm-hmm.
On August 25th, 1922, at Cubs Park in Chicago, the Cubs were hosting the Philadelphia Phillies. By the end of the 4th inning, the Cubs had a commanding 25-6 lead, thanks in part to a 10-run second inning and a 14-run 4th inning. The Fighting Phils became just that by answering back with 3 runs in the 5th. The Cubs would score their final run in the bottom of the 6th, but the Phillies stormed back with 17 runs in the final 2 frames, losing 26-23 and leaving the bases loaded. When the Fat Cubby was finally done singing, both teams combined for 51 hits, 21 walks, 9 errors, and 49 runs. The record of 49 runs scored in a Major League Baseball game still stands today, 102 years. There's
What
your
a
49ers.
comeback. Wow, that's a comeback story, all right.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Give me another one that you flagged to read for us.
Absolutely. This one is called No Chance. There was a doubleheader played at Arlington Stadium in Texas between the Texas Rangers and the visiting Chicago White Sox on June 25th, 1976. The Rangers won the first game 8-4, and the White Sox earned the split by a score of 14-9 in the nightcap. The White Sox sported 5 players to play all 18 innings, while the Rangers opted for 3. Popular shortstop Toby Harrah was one of the few players the Rangers decided to use in both games. Offensively, he went 3 for 5 in the first game with a run scored and 5 runs batted in that included a home run and even a stolen base. In the second game, he went 3 for 3 with another run scored and 3 more RBIs and even another homer. It was a great day at the plate. Defense was another story. He didn't have any miscues or throwing errors. He wasn't involved in any double plays or stolen base attempts. So what was the story? Shortstops tend to be the busiest positions on the diamond, and on this evening, Toby Harrah never touched the ball. 18 innings, 0 chances. He became the first and only shortstop in Major League history to not get a single fielding opportunity over the course of an entire doubleheader. No chance.
Wow. Now, you were taking all these notes over this, a period of time. Were there any time where you felt like, oh my goodness, I should be playing baseball?
No, I never really thought about it that way.
Uh-huh.
I don't think I ever would have made the major leagues. I was a good ball player, but I'm a tiny guy, and it is crazy how big these players are now. I mean, the average height is like 6'4". These guys are giants over me.
And they're pretty
But I certainly love to
wide
get.
and fast, right? The games that you attended, you were taking a lot of photographs, right?
Yes, absolutely. As a matter of
And
fact, I
the
was taking photographs
uh-huh.
before I even came up with the concept of the book.
I was wondering if you were thinking about, you know, not even a book, but a collections or a place to share these memories for future generations, not just your children, but for a place where others maybe in the community could see and look at the journey and the experience that you had.
Well, the pictures, I kind of forgot about having taken a lot of them. So
Uh-huh.
when I started writing the book, we started discussing what sort of pictures do we want to document the stories. And I just figured we would, go to public domain and get some pictures of old stadiums that don't exist anymore or something. And I started thinking about it, going, you know what? I have taken a lot of pictures through the years. So I dug through all my boxes of pictures and sorted them out by the stadiums and the time frames and everything, and realizing, you know what, for full credibility, I'm going to use my photos or no photos. So I completely filled the book with 40 years worth of picture taking, having been to 37 major league ballparks.
I can just imagine what it was like for you to go through those pictures and trying to choose which ones are going to make the cut.
Yeah,
Tell us
absolutely.
about that.
Well, you know what? Since Rusty was my partner on this, and I was so busy writing the book, kind of putting myself on my own deadline, I said, you know what? You've got to assign the pictures because I just don't have time to do this. And so he sends me a screenshot of a picture, and he goes, "Who are these people in this picture?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, only I know what's in these pictures." So he lives like, 2, 3 hours away from me. And so to get all the pictures assigned to the stories, he had to drive all the way back and drop off all the boxes of pictures for me again to get started with the picture assignment.
Is
It's
there
really
one photograph
kind of,
that captures a moment so perfectly for you that it still stops you in your tracks?
wow, that's a good question. I'm a big Angels fan, as you can see by the wall behind me with all my Angels memorabilia.
Uh-huh.
Up until interleague play started in 1997, unless you played a team in the World Series in the other league, the teams have never ever faced each other in the history of the game. So when interleague play began, I decided to go to the very first historic game that the Angels ever played with any other team, whether it was here in Anaheim or on the road. And it was typically four teams every year. Two were at home and two were on the road. So for several years, I went out and did the same road trip to go to these brand new ballparks I'd never been to, and the first time the Angels had ever played there historically. So I did get pictures of the very first pitch thrown at each of those games. I
Oh,
ended up
wow.
not using any in the book because the description wasn't really that. So most of the pictures that I put in the book are really setup shots and exteriors and beauty shots, things of that nature. I've got like Miller Park. I got this great picture of the stadium entrance, and right above it is a full moon. So there's
Ooh.
kind of a little bit of art involved.
Did you have any experience or professional experience with taking photographs before this?
You know what? I've always just had a creative eye.
Mm-hmm.
Being an editor in Hollywood, I think you kind of are gifted with that if you have that job.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of know, how to balance framing and whatnot. So I kind of took that artful eye with the camera. And even my very first pictures you'll see in the book are very grainy. Do you remember those little tiny pocket 110 millimeter cameras?
Oh,
Those,
yes.
those were my first pictures, 110 millimeter.
Yeah. And so some of did those photographs make the cut from those small
Absolutely.
uh 99% of the photographs in this book across what 37 ballparks?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
A friend of
I'm
mine,
intrigued.
yeah, a dear friend of mine, Greg, who I call Grogus. Um, Long story behind that. Anyways, he's a huge Yankees fan. And so he went to the new Yankee Stadium, and there were so many stories in the book about the Yankees that were recent. I had old Yankee Stadium pictures, not new Yankee Stadium pictures. So I called him up and said, "Hey, can I borrow some of your pictures? I'll give you credit in the book." So he loaned me his pictures for the new Yankee Stadium, just so we had coverage of that. Other than that, all the other pictures are all mine.
Wow. So please explain to us the feeling that you were trying to convey when you wrote the seventh inning stretch, which is described as a celebration. But I know that you've explained that at the seventh inning, everyone gets up and they stretch or sing and so on. So what did you want us to feel when you were writing the seventh inning?
Well, we wanted to cover baseball at every angle, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
not just eye-popping moments like all the stories within the body of the book. So
Mm-hmm.
this is just to raise baseball awareness at a world level. Even the song that is sung, the history of the origins in like 1908 and how popular the song became, and it's still reflected as like one of the top 500 songs of all time. And so there's a lot of backstory that a lot of people don't know. And so anytime I could tie something fun about baseball into it, I did. And that includes even the famous Abbott and Costello comedy sketch, Who's on First? You remember that? That's one of the
Yes,
most classic duos ever. And they even
absolutely.
run the film at the Hall of Fame in Cooperstown quite often. So that was just trying to dissect more baseball is all we were trying to get.
Yeah.
And then the new book, the second book, Game Two, same thing. By the time the first book comes out, you kind of start thinking, there's more baseball things that we didn't even cover. So I expanded it again for the second game, and I'm going to have to think of some more things for Game Three, or we might have to skip the seventh inning stretch altogether. It depends.
I know that life and play and art and entertainment are sometimes affected by our political environment. Are there any stories that you share that speak to this?
There is one, but I wrote away from the subject matter. And I came to find out that the subject matter was absolutely incorrect, anyways. And it involves
Mm.
Ty Cobb and a racially motivated thing. And apparently, the writer who made this up asked to talk to Ty Cobb about it, and Ty Cobb didn't even want to talk about it. Or he was never asked. I forgot what it was, but basically, he
Hmm.
never said what the writer wrote. And so it was just kind of bad juju to write about it. So I kind of just skipped over it and created the storyline so people know at least why the story existed.
Okay. Now you close out the book with the final out. Explain to me and the listeners why it was. You spoke about someone in particular, and I want you to just give us an overview of why it was important to speak of this person or dedicate the final out to this person.
Yeah, the final out, we actually gave it a subtitle for the story. And the
Mhm.
story is called The International Man of History. And that would be none other than the unicorn himself, Shohei Ohtani from Japan. He has turned the baseball world on its ear by things that he has done that nobody else has done. And we have a chronological list of bullet points from the moment he stepped on the diamond up to current times of things that only he has done in the game. Nobody
Wow.
else has done this stuff. And the list just goes on and on and on. You can't believe that one person has accomplished this. To this date, people still have not done what he has done. And I got to
So
think
he,
looking forward, there's got to be more people like him coming. There's got to be. He can't be the only two-way player ever.
so Show Otani, I'm not familiar, so I don't know much about baseball. But you're saying he's one of the most impactful person because he's done some things that others some has never done, and up to this day.
Absolutely. Nobody but him. and it's not just one or two things, because a lot
Hmm.
of the stories that I have in the book are eye-popping moments that happen to somebody, but it's just a single eye-popping moment, and
Hmm.
not a story that runs 75 stories deep with one person. It's just absolutely insane.
So that's why you're like, you know what? I'm giving him an entire chapter.
Yes, absolutely. International man of history.
Yes, and give us some of, yeah, please give us some examples.
Japanese superstar Los Angeles Dodgers pitcher slugger Shohei Ohtani, aka Showtime, has had the most remarkable run at the beginning of his career of any player to be called up to the show in Major League Baseball history. He began his MLB career with the Los Angeles Angels on March 29th, 2018. He missed most of 2019 and the 2020 campaigns due to injuries, but then came storming back in 2021 when he hit 46 home runs and struck out 156 batters, en route to winning his first American League Most Valuable Player award unanimously. He was the second two-way player in the modern era, beginning in 1901, to do so, following Babe Ruth from 1914 to 1919. Ruth did get into just four more games over the rest of his career from 1920 to 1933. Ohtani notched his second AL Most Valuable Player award for his 2023 campaign, also unanimously. He led the AL with 44 home runs and 10 wins as a pitcher, another unprecedented accomplishment. Sadly for the Angels, 2023 was his last year with the Halos, as he signed an eye-popping $700 million 10-year contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers on December 11, 2023. Because of an elbow injury, he was unable to pitch in the 2024 season. That didn't affect his hitting or his base running, though. Here's a partial account of his record-setting run. 2018, April 6th, the first Angels rookie to hit 3 home runs in 3 days. 2019, June 13th, the first Japanese-born player to hit for the cycle. 2020, July 24th, first ever automatic runner on second base at the start of the 10th inning as part of the new COVID-19 delayed 2020 season rules. 2021, June 23rd, against the San Francisco Giants, Ohtani was a designated hitter for himself as a pitcher. July 7th, he hit his 32nd home run of the year, passing Hideki Matsui for the most home runs hit during a season by a Japanese-born player. July 13th, the first player to be selected as an All-Star as both a position player and a pitcher. In the game, he was the starting pitcher and the leadoff hitter for the American League. July 26th, the first pitcher to register 100 strikeouts and hit 35 home runs before the end of July. It was his 15th pitching start of the season. September 15th, the second MLB player after Ching-Wing Mang in 2007, named to Time Magazine's list of the 100 most influential people of the year. December 22nd, the Sporting News released the article, The 50 Greatest Seasons in Sports History, Ranked. The Sporting News declared Ohtani's 2021 season first, ahead of the best seasons of Babe Ruth, basketball's Michael Jordan, football's Tom Brady, hockey's Wayne Gretzky, or soccer's Lionel Messi. Ohtani's 2021 season was recognized for 2 Guinness World Records. The only player to pitch 100-plus innings and record 100-plus strikeouts and record 100-plus runs batted in, hits and runs as a batter in a single season. The first player to start the All-Star game both as a pitcher and a designated hitter. And I can continue for pages of these notes.
He's incredible. No, I
Yeah.
was listening and taking notes. First of all, the first thing you said, well, the first thing I remember was that in 2018, in 3 days, he made 3 home runs. Damn, that's incredible already.
Players do that. As a matter of fact, the record is 8 straight games with a home run. But he was the first rookie to go 3-3.
Wow. I'm going to share this with my friend. Her son plays baseball. I'm going to quiz him.
Nice.
But he's amazing. He's young, but he's amazing. Listen out for him, Boston Flannery. He's in college now, so he's doing his thing, and he's going to be amazing because he's already great. He's already good. So you've written this game 1 and game 2, and that's over 600 stories, and you've already started game 3. What the heck? Like most authors are exhausted after writing one book, and you're writing your third. What keeps fueling you?
Well, it's magazines like this that I read all the time. This is Baseball Digest,
Uh-huh.
and they go up and through history, and fans write in and say, "I remember when I was a child, this game where this happened. Has that ever happened before?" And so
Mm-hmm.
they, go through sports bureau and do a bunch of research and add to his question. And so just reading the magazine, I'm just constantly finding things that need stories to come back out and fill up another book.
Yeah.
Because to have all of these stories amongst my series of books is exactly what my dream was. It just happens so often they need to be in one place. It's kind of like a museum of stories.
Yeah. So you're doing us a great service by putting this all together. And how big is this book?
The first book is nearly 400 pages, and the second book is like 273, if I recall. They're good
You're
sized books,
you're
and
gonna have
they're
to.
very easy. As you can see, it's very easy reading.
Uh-huh.
And the BU is our bug, which stands for baseball is unlikely, and that begins a new story. So you're going to have one story that covers these 2 pages. Turn it, you have a new story, a new story, a new story, and this one happens to be 2 pages, etc.
Yeah.
And maybe I can find one of the line scores in here, where you can see the fun graphics that show you where you are in the book. There we go. There's the top of the seventh inning. See that graphic? It shows the little red diamond in the top of the seventh inning.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Now,
Yeah.
w- how are you? How are you when you go out to do your book signings? I know people are going to be excited about the stories and excited to have the book, but how do you feel?
Um, you know, a lot of people get the book signed without having read it yet. So
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to ask people questions, because I always want to ask, are you enjoying the book? And unfortunately, they don't have an answer yet.
Right. Are you
So I
going
did
to
get,
have a place where people can meet up, an event maybe for your readers who are going through game one and game two, and then there's game three coming, but they have all these questions now because they've gone through it. Are you going to have an event where people can meet up and get those questions out and just feel good that they have you in a room, maybe on Zoom or in person?
I haven't set up such a thing. My publisher may decide to go down that route. Um,
Yeah.
the the publicist that hooked me up with you, they might be able to throw together something like that. Me being the author, I kind of don't really know how to do that sort of work.
Right. But I think it's a great idea because when you go, like you said, to the initial book signing, people are purchasing the book and they haven't read it yet. And then as an avid reader myself, usually when I'm reading, I'm taking notes, I have questions, I'm looking up the author after, and it will be great to be in a room where you can just say, "Hey, Mr. Scott S. Parker," and have you answer the question right then and there. Even if it's a Zoom room, I think it's a great idea. And it's also, it can be a lucrative space.
I like that idea. I will definitely
Hmm.
discuss that with my others.
Yeah. So, how long do you plan to promote game one and game two before you start with game three?
Well, game three, I'm working on in the background, so it has
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with what we're talking about now because I don't have anything to talk about for game three except for saying that it is coming soon.
Uh huh.
And based on the timeline, we released the first book during spring training of 2025. Second book is released during spring training this year, and the next book is should be on target for spring training next year. So it's a great way to start the baseball world with spring training, and a whole new baseball is unlikely for you.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know you said that you didn't have any interest in playing baseball yourself. Do you
Oh,
have
I did.
children? Okay, you did.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Oh,
I never had my eyes on the major leagues, but I played.
okay.
Yeah, I played little league up. I played soccer in high school, not baseball. Um, post career or during my career, I joined a softball league. So I play softball, most weeknights. So I kept it up, but after a while, the job becomes so demanding, it turned into 80, 100-hour weeks. So there was no
I
way I could play
couldn't
softball
believe.
anymore.
There's no way you can live. Like, oh my goodness, what else did you do but go to work, come home, eat, barely sleep, and go back to work again?
That's exactly what it was like. And
Yeah,
I felt that if I got at least 3 hours of sleep, I was good for the next day. And
yeah.
that went on for many years. But it
And
was a difference maker in my life.
yeah, I hear people say that we need 8 hours of sleep. I don't get 8 hours of sleep unless it's not every night. I wish I could get 8 hours of sleep every night. But then again, I have so much to do. I have so much to accomplish. And I feel like let me squeeze the amount of time I have left here on earth and just, I can catch up on sleep later. Did you have that mindset, or just a workaholic?
Well, I never stop. How's that? My mind is constantly active until I go to sleep. Um,
Yeah.
I am always doing something. When somebody says that, I'm bored, let's do something. Can I come over? I'm bored. And I swear I looked in the dictionary, and my dictionary doesn't even have the word bored in it. It's gone.
That's
So
right.
I always have to do, always.
Yeah, I don't understand boredom either.
Yeah, okay, well,
Yeah, we are two of just alike because I've never been bored. And even as a child, I just am always thinking of, I'm always doing something or what to do next. I'm always making a list. I'm a list maker. So if I have downtime, I'm making a list.
we are identical that way. I've got lists everywhere.
So no more boring time for us. We're never bored. Um, there was another question that I was ruminating while you were talking. Let me see if it will come back to me. I believe I wanted to know, if you have any children or grandchildren that play the sport.
I do not.
Okay.
No children whatsoever. So my baseball man cave that you see right now is all I'm connected to with it. So no children.
And it's beautiful. I'm enjoying, the backdrop there. Exactly, you know, when you say you love baseball, I can see the color, the t-shirt, not the t-shirt, the game shirt. What you call it?
Jersey, the jersey.
Jersey. The jersey. I can see it looks like some tickets. I just love the backdrop. Yeah, it's beautiful
And
and
actually,
vibrant.
right over here to my right, I have
Uh-huh.
15 boxes of baseball cards with Angels logos on each box. They're all numbered 1 to 15. I have 9,200 unique Angels baseball cards
Wow.
from
Those are
1961 to now.
damn, those are gonna be worth something.
I don't know. When I'm done and gone, I'll probably just have to donate them to the Angels and hope that they can use them.
You're such an Angels fan.
Yes, I am. It's been a tough 12 years. I'll tell you that.
For the baseball fan that's listening right now, and they have never like thought of themselves as a reader, someone who loves the game, but they just has never been able to get through like a traditional sports book. What would you say to them to convince them that baseball's unlikely was written specifically for them?
Yeah, the book was written by a fan for the fan. And here's a fantastic story. As I was testing some of the stories with my dad and his wife, like I'd mentioned earlier, and I read them a story. And keep in mind, they don't know anything about baseball. And I read them probably 5 stories. And after each of those 5 stories, both of them went, wow. And they didn't even understand the game. So anytime
Mhm.
that I'm trying to get somebody to read the book, and maybe they bought it just as a favor to me, but I keep telling them, just take a minute, open the book anywhere, and just read one
Yeah.
story. Just do me a favor, read one, read two. And my dad actually loaned the book to a friend of his, another co-pilot. They're pilots, and him the book. And he emailed me and said, Scott, I have to tell you, if I read this book for 5 minutes or 2 hours, I feel like it was written by somebody different every time I open it. And therein lies the fact, because to write this and keep it fresh, you can only set up a story so many ways. You can say what the date is, what the venue is, maybe a day of the week, and very simple things. But I had to rearrange those words every single time to keep it feeling like somebody else wrote the story. So it wasn't just a mundane me, story after story after story. And so, kind of like Stephen King, you can take a leap of faith with him, because sometimes you can be reading one of his books and the chapter starts with a bomb he drops that you can't believe happened. And then the rest of the chapter, he runs you through what that bomb was. So some of my stories, I will start that way by saying, this is what happened, and it'll shock you.
Yeah.
And so then I got to go through and, run the story that direction.
Thank you so much for creating this book and giving us the opportunity to see that paying attention, because although your book is about baseball's unlikely event, it's really about paying attention, because you've taken the time to document the pictures and stories and now showing us. And so I believe it's about paying attention, and it's about showing up to 37 ballparks across 4 decades. It's not easy to be consistent. So thank you.
I'm hoping to make it out to all the ballparks I still haven't been to yet. It's work.
How many times have you been to the New York Yankee Stadium?
Most of the stadiums just once. Yankee Stadium I went to in 1993. And I have not been to the new one yet. That opened in 2009. So I'm missing out on that opportunity. But after having seen the pictures that I put in the book, my God, what an amazing looking ballpark. They put some money into that thing.
It's grand. I have been there one time to a game, but it was cold and I kept complaining. But it's a beautiful ballpark. It's ginormous and very well organized when you're going in. Everything just seamless. It just is beautiful and a great experience.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to going there. I'm not a big fan of the city of New York, but I will go just to go to the ballparks.
That's right. Please share with everyone where they can get a copy of your book.
So Baseball's Unlikely, Game 1 and Game 2 can be found on Amazon. Very simple. I think everybody knows how to get on Amazon and buy anything in the world and have it delivered in 10 minutes. I don't know how to.
That's all right.
Yeah.
So there you have it, guys. Please go and grab your copy of Game 1 and Game 2. And if you know someone that's interested in baseball, grab them a copy also. I think I'm going to get this for Boston's birthday. Yeah.
Awesome.
Because, yeah. That's a great gift for him. So whether you're a lifelong baseball fanatic or just a casual fan or someone who just has been to one game in your lifetime where you complained of how cold it was, I think this book is for you. And I think it's the attention to details and the message of just paying attention and being consistent. That's one. So go out there and get your copy. Okay. Scott, thank you so much for spending time with us today at the Bold Book of the Day podcast. I really appreciate you, and thank you for creating this book. We are rooting for you, and we're rooting for Game 3.
Thank you for joining us for the Bold Book of the Day with Dr. Denise Nicholson, a central hub and a safe space for authors to share their stories. Follow Dr. Denise on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Nicholson, or go to denisenicholson.com. Remember, no one can share your story better than you.